If you're struggling with GCSE chemistry, but you also want to get a 9, I know how difficult it can be for you, but today I'll be sharing with you all top 10 tips on how to really get that 9, guaranteed ways to make sure that you're getting that 9 in a GCSE chemistry for sure, because these tips, you have never heard them before, I'm sure. So if you're interested to find out the tips, then please keep watching this video till the end. So these top 10 tips have been gathered based on these 3 areas. First one is based on my own personal mistakes and experience on how I undertook my own GCSE chemistry exam. Number 2 is based on my own sister's teacher's comments on how to get a 9 and advices in basically in general. And number 3 is of course based on research and watching so many YouTube videos out there. So I've combined all these 3 areas together to combine this one video that you only have to watch to make sure that you are getting that 9 in GCSE chemistry. So now let's jump into the basic tips. Before I jump into the advanced tips, I want to make sure that you have been doing these 4 basic tips already, even if before watching this video. First one is making sure that you have looked at already on as many mark schemes, teachers' comments, as well as examiners' reports as much as possible, so that you get an idea on what it takes to get a 9 in GCSE chemistry and what it takes to really answer the questions and what marks give you what and what points give you the marks basically. Number 2 is making sure that you're practicing already as many past papers questions as much as possible, whether they might be from the textbook, from the actual exam board, whatever that might be, you are practicing as many past papers as possible already. Number 3 is that you're using as many free resources available online, for example YouTube videos or summary sheets or Quizlet flashcards, whatever that might be, you're already using those as part of your revision whenever you're actually revising for GCSE chemistry. And number 4 is of course sending as much as work as possible to the teachers, especially when you need it the most, or whenever you don't understand a topic, you are emailing them straight away, or you are meeting them at school during lunchtime or after school, whatever that is suitable for them. So you already should be doing these 4 basic tips, and now I'm going to be moving on to the advanced. First advanced tip is making sure that you know the content inside out, and this is very important. And to do this very well, you have to make sure that you're using as many active recall strategies as much as possible. For example, the Feynman technique, flashcards, past papers, spaced repetition, brain dump, mind maps, whatever that might be, you are using as many active recall strategies as much as possible in your revision time or in your revision session, so that you are first of all not getting bored of revising the same topics or the same subjects or very boring topics. And number 2 is because it gives you more creativity, and it also makes it more fun for you to revise the topics instead of just reading the textbook and making notes, for example. So you want to use active recall strategies on a weekly basis or a daily basis whenever you're revising for GCSE chemistry, so that you never get bored and also you'll understand the topic much better. Number 2 is making sure that you know how to balance your equations very well. And as someone who has struggled with this in the past, whenever I was doing my GCSE chemistry during my own GCSE years, it was very hard for me to really do this, but trust me, it works, and it will definitely work out if you put in the time and the effort to actually understand how to balance equations, because you cannot simply losing marks, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 marks, just because you don't know how to balance the equations very well. So you want to make sure that you are seeking as much as help as possible from teachers, or looking at online free resources, or even from a student who might be really good at doing balancing equations. You want to make sure that you're seeking as much as help as possible, because you don't want to be losing again the basic marks just because you do not know how to balance your equations. And take your time doing this, and there's no need to rush, and everybody learns at a different paces anyway, so it's making sure that you are knowing how to balance the equations very, very well. Tip number 3 is making sure that you familiarize yourself with the periodic table in terms of the different types of metals and elements and what are the properties and everything, so that whenever you get a question in the exam based on the metals, non-metals, or any other kind of things or elements that are available in the periodic table, you know exactly what it's talking about and what are the properties in general, because sometimes students can neglect this part and think that I should be learning only the content, and the periodic table is something that which can come later, or I can leave it to the last minute because it's not really that important. But it's actually a very, very important topic that you should be revising on a daily basis or a weekly basis, to make sure that you know different types of elements and their properties, so that in the exam you first of all you don't forget the properties in general, and number 2 you know exactly what to write, which means that you are not going to be losing marks in general. So you want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the periodic table from today onwards. Aligned with tip number 3, tip number 4 is about knowing about the different types of bonding. What are the properties? Why do they work that way? And how do they work in general? And why they're so different from each other? So you want to make sure that you know these basic topics as well as possible, because I believe that whenever I was doing GCSE chemistry, I remember this was one of the most important topics that it could be very confused very easily for different types of bondings. So you want to make sure that you are knowing all kinds of bonding types and what are the properties, how do they work, and why do they work that way, and what are the differences between the different types of bonding types, as well as what are the similarities. So in that way you can make a mind map maybe, or maybe a brain dump, or have organized sets of notes in which you have exactly know what are the properties really well and what are the bonding types in general. Tip number 5 is making sure that you've only prioritized all those topics that your teacher has assigned that those are going to be definitely in the exam, and forget about the rest. And of course, do not forget the lab experiments and practical skills, as well as all the stages of how you have conducted those experiments in school, because these can be lost marks very easily as well. Because if you don't know what are the stages of a lab experiment, for example, then you're going to be losing marks very easily. And if you don't know how to write the practical skills that you have learned or that might be relevant for that lab experiment, that can be very you can lose literally marks for no reason. So you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself well before the exam on having some kind of good amount of notes on all the each types of lab experience you have conducted, what are the practical skills, as well as what are the stages. And of course, you're only prioritizing those topics and areas that are going to definitely be coming in the exam, and you're not putting yourself in pressure on learning the whole entire book in a way. So you want to make sure that you are working smart but not hard. Tip number 6 is making sure that you're not neglecting maths. So if you're really weak in maths, I believe that you should be really starting off and watching my video on here about how to get a 9 in maths. But other than that, you're not going to make sure that in chemistry you're not neglecting maths, which means that you're not forgetting subjects such as algebraic equations, exponents, negative numbers, fractions, and logarithms. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And these basic topics, you should be knowing them really well, because they're going to be very applicable for chemistry as well. And do not just think that maths is only relevant in physics or anything like that, but I'm just trying to say that maths is a very important subject in GCSE years, especially in sciences, because they're quite interlinked together. So you want to make sure that you're not neglecting maths completely. And if you're weak in maths, then you should be starting to work on it right now, or maybe watch my previous video or one of my previous videos on how to get a 9 in maths, in GCSE maths. In that way, that video can be really helpful for you, and hopefully you will get a 9 in both of the subjects. This brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you really enjoyed and found these tips really helpful. And if you know someone who's going to be undertaking GCSEs next year or even this year, then please share this video with them so that they can also understand and get to know about the tips on how to get a 9 in GCSE chemistry and or any other subjects that I've already conducted videos on this. But other than that, if you're interested in kind of law school productivity and self-growth kind of videos, as well as any kind of GCSE related or A-level related videos, then please do subscribe to this channel, because you're at the right place where I'll be sharing with you all my tips and tricks on how to get a 9 in GCSEs. And of course, I will see you in my next week's video.